Okay, so now it's, what is it called? August 30th. It's the next day after the big boom. Right? That was cloud seeding or something, because it's raining today. And it's been fairly warm, so when you have an upside down, what do you call that? Rainbow, that's because there's, apparently, there's ice crystals in the clouds. And that rainbow didn't show up until after that big boom that rattled all these houses. So nobody should be surprised that it's raining right now, right? So anyway, I can barely walk. I can barely walk, people. At the bottom of my feet, there's like, you know, when you have your foot, right? This is your foot, this is your leg, and then this little joint in here, right? That's your foot. Oh, it's so sore. I was digging all day yesterday. I was digging next door. I dug up the potatoes there and dug up a little spot and was pulling morning glory. I created a huge mound of morning glory, a couple piles, and, you know, digging my potatoes up on my side, different locations. So anyway, that's what happens when you start pushing 60. So that comfrey, like for example, that comfrey that I pulled in from over there, it's drying now, right? That's what you would take after it's dry. And you'd put it on a, what do you call it? Some sort of little piece of fabric or something, paper towel or whatever. And you'd moisten it, and then you would put it on right in there. And then just wrap a gauze around it, right? And that will help with the healing, because that's what comfrey does on the outside of the body. It helps to speed up the healing process. So maybe I might try that later on if it doesn't get better. I was wearing chemise. That could be it too, because if you notice, it's very flat for me, right? And I've got problems with my arch. So I changed my shoes, so hopefully that will work. So basically, because it's raining outside and I'm really tired, well, I'm not really tired. My body is tired. And I'm having a really hard time walking right now. I'm just going to take the camera and take it into the kitchen and just do a kitchen video, right? I'm going to try and get on with those beets, leaves, right? I don't know if I'm going to can beets today. We'll see. I have rhubarb still to get and can. You know, I'm kind of wanting to take the path of least resistance right now. The beets themselves, really, honestly, I mean, there are two ways I can do the beets. I can chop up the leaves, chop up the, what is it called, stems of the beets, clean up the beets, shred the beets, put everything into little bags, and then just freeze them that way. You don't have to blanch them, nothing, people. And then this way, if you make beet soup or whatever, it's already pre-cut and ready to go. That's how people in restaurants do their beets in bulk when they're like running a Ukrainian restaurant and they're selling pierogies and borscht and stuff like that, right? Petaha and, you know, cabbage rolls and studnats and just whatever, right? Studnats is pig's feet and jelly. That's what studnats is, right? So anyway, earwushkas are nice. Earwushkas are made with a bit of beer, and they're like a little fancy pastry that you deep fry and then sprinkle, what is it called? Icing sugar on it. Those are nice. So if I had a bigger kitchen, more room, I would do videos like that, right? Because then I have the space. But in the real world, I work with what I got, and so I do want to do some potatoes. The harvest was minute, so for what it's worth, you know, I'm going to just let the potatoes cure for a week or two this time before I can them, because the last time I canned them, I did them like the next day or whatever it was, straight into the jar. And so I think I'm going to just set some aside, and I rinsed off some technically you're not supposed to rinse off potatoes before you store them. But anyway, I rinsed off some. I'm air drying them. And some of them I didn't rinse. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm probably going to just make myself a little pile of potatoes that I want to use for canning. And I'm just going to can some for soup purposes, right? I think that stock that I made with the carrot and mashed in with the, see how tired I am? Mashed in with the, what is it called? Squash skins is still in my fridge. So I'm thinking maybe I should just take some new potatoes today and throw them in that broth and, right, and just make another soup. Right, Tisha's around. She likes that. Everybody likes that soup. So that's a good soup. So I think versus freezing it, I don't have time, people, to be putting everything into jars, right? When I can simply just put the pot on the stove and make a soup. Although I was kind of looking forward to having that stock for other soups in the wintertime. So it's a debate yet. It depends on what I want to do. Right, I need to save my jars because I want to get into my deep freeze. I mentioned this before, deep freezes. I have more than one. I have a bit of a eye tension in here. This is what you're seeing. My eyes are going like this, right? I want to get into my deep freezes and like pull out 1 or 2 turkeys. And I probably have a few of them. Defrost them, can them. And then I've got some really nice pork roasts, that kind of thing. You know, I thought maybe a few cans with that. And then I've got some, like I said before, some fish that I don't even know what the state of the fish is. It's either cat food or canned food. It's hard to say yet until I unthaw it. So I might just save my jars for that. I probably should. And just make that soup up. So if I'll take this camera and I'll bring it into the kitchen, and I don't know, people, what else am I going to do today? I have to, as I'm doing that, that's food stuff. I have to do it. It's like, right? No point in harvesting it if you're not going to process it, right? And being that this year the weather was so crappy and hardly anything grew except for maybe the squash, right? Like I must have had at least, oh my God, 50 squash growing in my yard at one point, by the time it was all said and done. And I'm switching over this bed. So it's my feet, people. My feet hurt. I can't walk today. I'm hoping changing my shoes will be better. Otherwise, it's going to be a really slow day, right? So I'm going to be picking away anyway at switching over this bed frame, right? We have to take a box spring downstairs. So it's a matter of clearing a path and getting things out from underneath the bed and, you know, vacuuming the corners for the spiders. It's a big job. It's a big job. As the yard is calling me, it's calling me, it's calling me. So I guess for today, it raining, it's okay, right? Because at least I have an excuse not to go outside today. And in light of that, I'm glad I harvested the food for the most part yesterday, right? Okay, so I'm just going to move this camera into there, and we're just going to see where we go with the food. Where do we go with the food, people? Huh? So what do you think about that, people?
20 minutes passed and they didn't call back.
Seriously, I don't know. These things... they're starting to fall, right? I don't know. The little ones, they don't necessarily have seeds, but the bigger they get, they start to get seeds, right? So hold on. Okay. I don't really know what I'm doing. They're not quite ready yet, right? You're supposed to pick them before the last frost. I don't really know too much about grapes, people. This is my second year with them, right? These ones are a little bigger. They have more flavor. And I watched a couple of YouTube videos, and she just heated them up and then took each grape, it's time consuming, and pushed up. Well, you don't even really need to heat them up. You can see what I'm doing here, right? You can, because it changes the texture of the jam or whatever it is that you're trying to do. Now these ones have seeds. That's the problem with grapes like this. I didn't like it the last time I tried to do juice with them. They got in the way. I think it's almost better to take them out before you even start cooking, to be honest with you. Because to try and take them out after it's been cooked and they've been merged, right? It gets gummy. Where here you can see, Andre said he was going to help me do this, because I told him I kind of need to, I'm hesitating here, right? That's why I put the small ones in here, because some of them don't even have seeds yet. Where the bigger they get, they start to get seeds. Now, the last time I did this, I ended up saving the grape seed, dried them, and put them in a bag for Andre's walnut art one day. Because, you know, I'm getting stuck, right? That's stuck. So, from my experience, if I cook them up, even without the skins on, because when I cook it, I can still put the skins in a cheesecloth and cook it in there to get the vitamins from the skin. But it would be in my best interest, really, now that I remember, to take them. I mean, it will go faster when you're sitting and you're focusing on it, right? Take out the seeds and then cook it up after the fact versus cooking them up and then trying to pick out the seeds, right? This one here, because they're so small, and it's like some of them are like, I don't know, kind of ripe. I mean, they're just going to spoil. That's the thing. They're falling off, being knocked off, whatever. You know, they're going to spoil, and I don't want them to spoil. Last year, I didn't do as well as I wanted to in terms of what I was trying to do, right? Because I didn't know what to do with all these grapes that I had. So this time, I'm going to pick them in batches versus all at one time, and I'm going to try and cook them in batches, right? I have little, you know, those little teeny weeny jars, the quarter pint ones, right? So I'm thinking to make like a specialty jam, right? Or jelly or whatever with lemon, right? Because some of them are a little sour, but that's okay. You add sugar in there and then and a little bit of lemon, it will get lemony. Here, since I've been thinking about it and I've done this video, I'm going to take an hour or so or whatever it's going to be, and I'm going to de-seed them, and I'm going to separate my... Sorry, wandering eye, I'm tired. Yesterday I was digging up potatoes and it was in the dirt all day, people. And when I wasn't doing that, I was pulling morning glory. Okay? So, and then I'm going to take the seeds, rinse them off, and then dry them. And then those seeds will go with the rest of our stock in terms of Andre's walnut art. These will go into a cheesecloth after I get my pulp in there, and I'm just going to cook them up that way and see what I get. And then I'm going to cook up these as is, see what I get. And if I don't like the texture, I'll take the juice and I'll just pour it into that. That I think would be the most economical. And then from there I would taste it, and then from that I would can it, right? And then I'm going to leave the grapes on for another week, right? Because it's not freezing yet. And just see where they go with it, right? And go and phone the owner of the home next door to find out if he's going to be harvesting those grapes. Because if he's not, I'm going to find some homes for them, right? Because in the next, I don't know, within the next 2 to 4 weeks, right? These things are going to come in hardcore. So I don't like having a big mound, because what happens is grapes, once you pick them, technically they don't ripen anymore. They stay pretty much as is, right? They don't get sweeter, right? They stop. So just with the fact of what I went through last year, it was crazy. So this year I want to be a little more productive with it. Although I don't know if I want to do juice. I might try it again, right? I've got still lots of jars on the table there. So I guess I'm going to do that, people. Hold on. Okay, so this should be good. I'm going to talk now, and then I'm going to upload this. Right? Because grapes are going to be around for a little while. The next few weeks anyway, right? Like I said, I'm going to try and do them in batches and try and get more creative. As you can see, doing it this way is time consuming. So what ends up happening is you lock yourself in your house because you're basically by yourself with the baby. That's the first thing you do. Nobody is here right now. It's 20 minutes after 5 in the afternoon. And whether you believe this or not, but I'm scared to be alone in my own house, people. Because of this shit going on with Shimei and whatnot, right? It's way too aggressive, right? In terms of calling MCFD on me, right? That was the first thing that they did when I showed up at court. What happened was I went to court the next day after Shimei died in the house. And that was only because that man used to threaten to injure my family. Whether it was shooting up my house, starting my house on fire, smashing out all my windows, people. He literally threatened to smash out all my windows. And he used to do this on Shimei, with Shimei sitting up here. And her and I would be petrified. Right? Because he said, I'm coming to the house. I'm smashing out all the windows. Have everybody come outside. You know, just a lot of crazy shit, people. You know? She told me, if anything happens to me, Mom, he had something to do with it. He told me that I would never get the baby, people. When he was on his rampage, run up and down the fucking stairs. Right? So that's why when Shimei died, I didn't know she was dead, because you take for face value what the paramedics and the police are telling you. You know. So I just went the next day and I went to court and I put in an emergency temporary, what is it called? I need to stand up more. Hold on a minute. It's hurting my back. I don't want to get electrocuted. Always touching this camera, but this time it's plugged in. They're giving off a histamine. It's all that morning glory I've pulled over the years. I'm allergic to things now. So anyway, I went to court the next day and I got an emergency temporary thing, right? And I got papers to serve him for court like 7 days later, because that's how they do it, right? So within 7 days of Shimei dying downstairs, oh God, somebody's at the door, hold on. Okay, that was my neighbor from the complex over there. He gave me a big, huge bag of clothes for the boys. So, oh, now that tap is running. Hold on. See, this is why I'm going to upload this video after this, right? And then as I'm doing grapes, because I'm pretty blue right now, people. Like, seriously. Like, very blue. And I'm telling you why I'm blue. Because there's just way too much aggression around this whole situation. Right? So anyway, the judge, 7 days later, right, gave us enough time for me to serve him, which he was served that day because he came by for the baby, thought that he could just roll up at the house with his mother and drive off with the baby. But instead of the baby, I don't know if it was, I think it was my son who served him with the papers. And then he argued with Tisha about seeing the baby. And Tisha was like, it's just better if you just leave for now, right? So anyway, she came upstairs and somehow he got into the basement even though his stuff had already been packed up and put in a bag and left at the door. Like, we had the courtesy of not even putting it in the garage, people. We left it in the laundry room. So there was absolutely no reason for him to go into Shimei's room other than he went in there and he took out a huge TV screen and a PlayStation. I don't know about the PlayStation, how long it was there for, but I know that TV screen had been there for over a year and a half or whatever it was, over a year. Right? And he took it out and he left. And so when Tisha went downstairs with the baby to let him see the baby for 5 minutes in the garage, because initially that's why he came to the house, he was gone. Him and his mother were gone with the TV and the PlayStation. And then that's when Shimei's phone resurfaced. That's when her phone was found. Because the day prior to that, Tisha and Paige went through the bedroom, tore it apart, looking for Shimei's phone, couldn't find it. And there was no phone in the living room. And that's the thing, anyone with a phone, I don't have a phone, people. I don't use a cell phone. I'll show you my dial-up Winnie the Pooh phone. But I know that people that have these cell phones do not leave their cell phones just lying around. Never mind lying around in a bedroom where there's somebody in your bed that you don't really want there, but because he's playing the victim in terms of, oh, woe is me, my mother's house got robbed, I got people chasing me, let me just sleep for a little while, right? I want to see the baby, let's co-parent, sweetheart. And she's saying, well, co-parenting maybe because I'm trying to do the right thing by the daddy, but you can sleep in that bed by yourself. Do you honestly think she's going to leave her fucking cell phone in there? She had her cell phone in the living room with her last Snapchat. I've said this before. There was nothing around her. No ashtrays, no drinks, cups, nothing. No clothes scattered on the ground, no candy wrappers, right? And her phone was gone. Well, not when he showed up the next day. That phone resurfaced. Because Tisha went in there. I can't speak exactly for how it happened, but from my understanding, she went into the bedroom, did something like that, and then caught the phone all of a sudden on Shimei's dresser, even though her and Paige had already looked for the phone and couldn't find it. Why would Shimei do a Snapchat? Think about it, people. Why would Shimei do a Snapchat and then run into a bedroom to put her phone down on a dresser where it just mysteriously disappeared for 24 hours and then reappeared so that she could go back into the living room and kill herself? Because she was this closet drug addict that people want to play her off to be. Like, it doesn't make any sense. And then to be so aggressive that you know, the first thing that they do is call MCFD, which is the Ministry of Children and Family Development, which is child protections in British Columbia, Canada, among other things. They don't just apprehend children, okay? But that's one of the things that they can do. And file a complaint against me so that when I go to court on that 7th day, like the judge ordered me to do, there's the social workers asking Tisha and I if maybe Shimei just wasn't celebrating the fact that she was going to go to college in 12 days. And I'm like, yeah, okay, 8 o'clock in the morning. I don't think so. That wasn't her style, people. Shimei was nerdy. If you look at her clothing, for the most part, she was very conservative. She worked in a McDonald's environment that served 1,000 homeless people for over a year, and she hated it because of the drama that comes around addiction. She grew up with the sister that, you know, disrupted the household for years and continues to do so. Shimei had no intentions of being a closet drug addict. Does that mean that she wasn't being influenced by people that were trying to recruit her for God knows what? At what, you know, as we go through our travels, we all run into bad influences. We all run into people who want us to drink like them so that when they get called on being an alcoholic, you know, they can say, what are you talking about? You drink too, right? Alcoholics don't want to admit that they're alcoholics, especially if they can turn you into one. Well, it's the same thing with drug addicts. Drug addicts, people like that, bingo players, they all migrate to each other so that they can, you know, justify what it is that they do. Right? That's why they're called shacks. When the drug addicts come together, crack shacks are like shacks with just basically people doing crack. People who do meth don't like to hang out with people who do crack. Same thing is true for people who do heroin. They don't like to hang out with people who do crack. You can get people who do heroin and meth, and they'll come together and they can coexist. But don't try and introduce, you know, a crack group into those groups because it doesn't work. Right? Well, it's the same thing with friends. Friends come and go. You know what I tell Andre? You know who your best friend is? You. Just remember that, Andre, because you're going to come into a lot of people, especially in this city, right? Because there's so much corruption out here with drugs, and they're, you know, targeting kids at 10, 11, 12 years old for the next generation of Sierras, right? To fill in that gap for more houses to be built that nobody can afford. But besides that point, you know, he's going to come into contact everywhere he goes as he ages with people that are going to try to influence him. And because he didn't grow up in a household like Shimei, technically, where there was a lot of game going on in terms of, you know, the wheeling and dealing of the major key role members in the house within prostitution and drugs and stealing shit and all that crap. My kids didn't grow up like that, people. Did Sierra bring prostitution into the house? And I don't mean like come into the house and, right? But did she bring it to the house? Yes, she did. She did. She did through the very fact that people got her addicted to drugs. And then eventually, as she aged, you know, it came to the point where at some point she was away from her family. Nobody who could protect her. Next thing you know it, my daughter's working the streets. You know, with her pimps and madams, right? They even tried to kidnap Sierra one time and throw her in a car. So, you know, I'm sure along the way, Shimei had friends that, well, I know Shimei had friends that struggle with addiction. And some of these people are like resulting from the park events that I used to do people. So they would meet them young, Like she may be 12 or 10 years old or something like that, 8 years old, right? And she'd make friends at the park. And because I used to do them regularly until the BC Liberal government came in and tore my family apart and threw us out into a, I don't know what, but besides that point, you know, I tried, but the point is, what I'm trying to say is my kids either met their friends that they have today through those park events and as small children, or at one point when I lived in that fourplex where they had that grow up, the woman next door was there with her kids, and then because the kids were, you know, younger or whatever it was over a period of years, and because I did park events and, you know, I'd go into courtyards where in an apartment block with children and stuff like that, they would come. So, you know, the girls, they bonded, right? Just because Shemaine knew some people that were doing drugs doesn't mean that Shemaine wanted to become an addict. Okay? I don't even know what I'm talking about, people. Oh yeah, the hostility. The hostility. So I go to court, right? 7 days later, social workers are there. You know, Tisha and I are telling them what happened, and by that time, we already getting the you know, we just started working on the actual timeline in terms of, you know, the way things were witnessed. Not the way things were thought to be, but the way things were witnessed to be at a specific time. Right? And then, you know, so they're now in court playing the middleman. Right? As those other people that had been hostile, really, pretty much ever since I met them, people, that woman, that grandmother, she's never liked me. She's never been friendly. She's always had a pole up my ass. Up her ass. And you go back into my videos and you'll hear me say that. It hasn't changed. Very superficial, very two-faced, and very quick to call 911. She's not handing over the baby. And the reason I'm talking about this is because this is where I'm taking it. Okay? So anyway, I don't know what the hell's going on over this $5 situation. You know, maybe I heard it wrong. Who knows? I don't really know. All I know is they needed an excuse to continue to antagonize me. And this is why I'm just going to like upload after this, because I don't want to rush with what I have to say. Because we all know, and I went out of my way to say to this girl that I would prefer for you not to come to my house. In light of everything that's been going on for a very, very, very long time, before even Amari was born, but especially since Amari's been born, and then how it escalated and it continues to fester, right? I don't see why I have to be a sitting duck in my own house in regards to having to hand over Amari to a hostile individual that obviously gets off on flexing her muscles, right? Because that's pretty much what it's boiled down to. Because over this little $5 incident where the other grandmother is butthurt because she doesn't want people to think that she doesn't have $5 for gas to go pick up her grandson, right? Has now specifically laid down the law and told Tisha that she is not picking up Amari anymore where Tisha is if she should go to her boyfriend's. So I can just work in the house, out of the house, wherever I'm working, uninterrupted for a day or two. In other words, he goes there for the night, so I don't have to hear nothing. I can just focus. I get up in the morning. You know, if I'm going outside, like yesterday, I got out there early. And what happened yesterday, people? Tisha had to come back from wherever she was, right, and bring the baby so they could meet in my front yard on the road. Well, that girl gets out of the car as her mother is probably on her phone, right, looks Tisha in the eye, You know, got her little tank top on, so you know her muscles are right. You know, because she's already threatened to punch out Paige. She's already threatened to punch out me. You know what I'm saying, people? What is going on with this woman? If she doesn't want conflict, right? Why doesn't she just go pick up the baby at Tisha's place when she's over there? That's not Tisha's place, but at Tisha's boyfriend's house, right? So, because I'm working, people, right? You see me, you see my videos, I'm with the spiders, right? I was digging with a pitchfork pretty much for the whole freaking day yesterday, right? When I wasn't pulling those morning glories, right? Cutting blackberry bushes over on that side so they don't spread, right? And, no. They're not going over no more. They're coming to my house. They're coming to my house. So, apparently they canceled for tomorrow. They canceled Tuesday, right? They were drama queens yesterday with making Tisha come all the way from over there just so that she could hand over the baby to a hostile individual, right? And then, Tisha goes back to where she was because she's got other plans, right? Tisha was here today. She came back. She lives here. But at the end of the day, why did Tisha have to come here just to drop off the baby to go back? Because that woman has refused to go pick him up over there now. Because if I call her on it, the first thing that's going to come out of her mouth is, well, the court says it has to be picked up at this address. If I say, I don't want, Sonia, you come out of your car, you tell your daughter to go back in your car, and I will hand the baby over to you, and it will be a fucking, right? Muscle match. Right? In terms of, what do you call it? She won't do it. She won't do it because that girl wants to be up in my face, people. That girl wants to intimidate me to the point where that family has now made it where it's 20 to 6 in the evening where I'm locking my fucking door because this is how cagey they are. Right? Because even though they canceled for tomorrow, Saturday, because I'll have to hand over the baby, right? And that grandmother will just sit in the car and let her hostile daughter take the baby. As she's gloating. Because what if I want the baby over there with Tisha so that I can get up and just do what I need to do because I got a lot of stuff I have to do. I'm already behind with everything. So these people are not being helpful. They're not being helpful at all, right? As that girl is running around accusing Shimei of being a lowlife, right? A wretched drug user, drug addict, whatever, right? On YouTube comment section. Right? I don't know, people. But the point is I'm in my house at 20 to 6 in the afternoon, afraid to leave my door open, literally. Right? So I've locked myself in. It's not a fucking joke. If they were coming tomorrow, which is a Saturday at 9 in the morning, that so-called grandmother will be sure to bring her daughter because they're masters of being victims, right? They're very good at putting themselves in the victim position. Okay? But I'm not rolling up on their doorstep, people. Nope. I'm not denying them Amari either. I'm just having winter coming upon me, and I need to get serious about the yard, right? And plus, I'm doing food and whatever, right? I'm tired, so it's just sometimes better if Amari is just not here right now, and Tisha doesn't need to be here all the time, right? You know? It's not healthy for us. We're stuck with each other because of this shit. This is why I'm telling her to start thinking about moving out. She needs her own place. I don't care where she goes. Whether she goes next door over there or whether her and her boyfriend decide to, come together and move into another place or whatever, right? It's for Tisha to decide. And we're okay with that. Because when she moves, that room that she rents out is technically already rented out, right? Because there's somebody else that already wants it. So I'm not worried about losing rent, right? So I'm just saying, how is it that they get to demand what they want, We're not picking them up here. We're not picking them up there, So when we want to pick them up, you make sure you're there, Judy. Okay? You make sure that you come out of the door and hand over the baby to somebody that wants to rip off your head. Because she's too busy trying to protect her brother's reputation, even though nobody knows her brother, really. You couldn't distinguish him from a lineup of 20 in terms of who he was, right? So, I don't know, I had people tell me that the only reason that they're still fighting for Amari is because they want the money. It's always been about the money. Just like Julian walked off with that TV and that PlayStation. He knew Shimei wasn't coming home, people. I'm sorry, TV doesn't sit in the bedroom for over a year, right? And then on the day when you're not responding, his words, not mine, right? And then you just take it upon yourself to walk into somebody else's house and take out something that had been in somebody else's room for over a year and a half. And then drive off without seeing the baby. When you use the baby as the excuse to come to the house. You say that to the other grandmother, she's not going to listen to you. Because she's too busy trying to figure out how to fuck with me. So now she's made it where I have to be here, right, to hand over the baby to her hostile daughter, right, so she can get off on it. And if I come out and I say, no, I'm not handing over the baby, you come out of the car, Sonia, and you come get him, I can almost guarantee you they'll start threatening to call the police on me. Because they've already done it. They've already threatened me. I've already had the police called on me for uploading a video on Sierra because I'm being trolled on YouTube and Facebook by the very person that comes to my house telling me where Amari should be, right? They don't have guardianship. Nobody's done no criminal check on these people. Nothing. Nothing, because MCFD didn't want to get involved. Right? Because I already have Andre, people. Right? And because of that, there's a gap in protection. Right? In terms of criminal checks and that kind of shit. Supervised visits. None of this shit, right? We don't have any of that. Because I'm not a ministry. I can't draw on those kind of resources. Right? So anyway, I just wanted to point that out. I hope I made that clear. Right? I'm sitting here waiting to be told what to do by people that just want to hurt my family. Right? And sit up there and make it look like they're the victims. But again, nobody has died that are related to those three particular individuals. You can't consider Howie to be family because Howie was not family, people. Howie was just, the woman dated some man and he happened to have sons. And you know how that works. Kids come together. Oh, mom and dad, you know, that's my mom, that's my dad. Oh, I guess we're brothers now. Oh, I guess we're brothers and sisters now. Right? But when it comes down to the nitty-gritty in the real world, that's not how it works. Right? So they didn't lose anybody. But they're sure in the hell trying very, very hard to cover it up. Right? If you notice. So anyway, I'll show you how much I got done. This is going to take too long. This is why I don't like doing grapes. But this is why I'm going to be doing it in small batches. So I don't mind one sour batch of, I guess you call it grape jam. Grape jam. I guess I'm making grape jam here. I don't know. I don't have a lot of expertise with grapes. I'm not French and I don't like drinking wine. No. Okay, let me go wash my hands. I'll show you. Okay. So after I just rinse them off and dry them and they'll be good for crafts. It's something unique and affordable. Alright. And then this I'll put in a cheesecloth and cook up with this as I'm cooking. Whoa. Right.